Hello. You all know that on the 15th of August this year, Afghanistan fell militarily to the Taliban, and the country human and women rights situation is in a catastrophic situation from a human rights perspective, but also from a humanitarian perspective. The predictions were that the Taliban probably have become more moderate and will be more tolerance and acceptance towards the population's civic liberty. But the reality is that since they have taken over, there's been a systematic exclusion of women from social and education sphere. Religious minorities have been pushed to leave their villages. There have been oppression, forced disappearance, and many other forms of human rights violation in Afghanistan. The Taliban took over militarily, and their hardliners actually came to Kabul first. A lot of women and people had no choice but to leave the country. And the reason we are here today is to meet with different member states and ask them to regard women and human rights in Afghanistan as a matter of national security of their own countries. Because it's not just a political or social issue, but it's a matter of security. Because if there is a reliable government in Afghanistan that will accommodate diversity and inclusion of everyone, including women, that can be a trustable partner to the world. But the reality is at this stage, it's not. The situation could have been avoided. We could have a process of peace which different political and social groups could be part of it. And I was one of the negotiators there, along with other sisters and brothers. We could have avoided the situation if things could be better managed in terms of the withdrawal of the US forces, in terms of the management of the peace process. We could avoid the catastrophic situation that we face now, but it didn't happen that way. Now, Afghanistan, we all failed it. Moving forward, if we abandon it, and if we abandon the people of Afghanistan, the consequences are going to be huge, not only on the people of Afghanistan, but on the rest of the world. And that's the message we want to give to the world. Yes.
Hello, James Bays from Al Jazeera. Can I first ask you, in response to what you've just said, I understand everything you're saying, but the Taliban hold the levers of power. What leverage does the international community, what can the international community do practically? And then secondly, we had a news conference yesterday, and I'm very glad that you've come here again because we had some technical difficulties. And I know in that news conference you talked about the actual threat going on and possible executions of women that are going on right now in Afghanistan and how there needed to be a monitoring mechanism. Can you tell us more about some of the appalling things that are taking place, you say, in Afghanistan?
The leverage we all have in Afghanistan is the recognition. Taliban are desperate to be recognized. I have negotiated with them. They're good in fighting, but are they good in government is something that time will prove. So they need international recognition. They need the aid because they need to deliver. The nation today in Afghanistan is not the nation that the Taliban were governing. They are used to delivery services to some level of good governance. Yes, things were not perfect, but there was some level of good governance. When in 1996 Taliban took over, they took over from a chaos. We went from one chaos to the another chaos. But now Taliban took over when we had already systems and infrastructures in place. People's expectation is that they should deliver. They have not been able to deliver any government plan in the last 2 months since they have taken over. And aid, money, recognition, they're all leverage that the world should use for inclusion, for respect to the rights of women, for respect to the rights of everybody. When it comes to the women's rights, I will ask my sisters to.
Yeah, thank you so much. We are thankful very much to UN Women to provide this opportunity to give us the floor and then the platform to raise our voice. And on behalf of Afghan people in general, and specifically children and Afghan women. We are here to ask the leaders of the world and then all member states and UN agencies that it's a shared responsibility. It's not, they cannot put everything on our shoulders or ex-former government shoulders or on Taliban shoulders. It's a shared responsibility. And we are here also to urge the international community to think about those women and children that they are at risk, at a high risk. I know that they cannot evacuate everybody from Afghanistan, 35 million people or 36 million people. It's hard to be evacuated from Afghanistan, but at least those that they are really at risk, they should be considered, and then international community should pay attention. And also we are here to urge and then ask international community and member states and UN agencies to continue their support in terms of humanitarian assistance, because winter is coming. Afghanistan is a drought-affected country, and then we are in really need of food and shelters. Thank you.
Yes, please.
Thank you. Michelle Nichols from Reuters. You mentioned recognition. The UN is currently faced with rival claims for the seat, the Afghan seat, here at the United Nations. What is your message to the UN member states as they now consider who to give that seat to?
I'm sure my sister will comment, but I am surprised for the question, because there cannot be double standard. We cannot say that women and human beings in your own territories, in your own countries, deserve to live in respect and dignity, but it's okay for women of Afghanistan to live in the situation that they are now. So I think very simple, very simple. You need to give, the UN need to give that seat to somebody who respect the rights of everyone in Afghanistan. It is a diverse society. No stability can be achieved without inclusion of that diversity. Peace is not just silencing the guns. It's beyond that. Peace is about inclusion, about tolerance.
Yeah, just thank you so much. On both questions, on human rights and women's rights situation, when Taliban took Afghanistan and took Kabul, they said that they will give the permission to women to resume their job, to go back to the school. But they didn't keep that promise. They also said that they will give general amnesty to everyone that opposed them. They didn't keep that promise as well. They said that they will start consultation to form an inclusive government that everyone can see the reflection on that. They didn't also keep that promise as well. I don't know if we want to register in the history that they want to give seat to such kind of government that does not, I don't want to say the government, a de facto structure that is in place in Afghanistan can represent Afghan people, Afghan women, their dignity, their desire. From my point of view, they don't.
And just a quick follow-up, following on from what you've just said, you ladies are standing here now at the Security Council stakeout as the Taliban is trying to get into this building and has been unable to so far until a decision is made. What kind of a message does that send to the women in Afghanistan?
Actually, it really empowers women of Afghanistan that there is some hope. And that hope is that there is an international coalition that can reflect their concerns, and they can form this coalition in terms of defending the basic rights of women of Afghanistan, people of Afghanistan, that after 20 years of all those achievements, we are at the stage of suffering from hunger, suffering from lack of shelter. People of Afghanistan deserve a better government.
Yeah, in your response, I just would like to ask United Nations and also all member states to engage with Taliban. They are now there, they are in power, they have to work with them. if you're going to give them seat, at least there should be conditions, not conditions on the humanitarian assistance, that people are dying. 18 million of people are hunger. So there are no condition on the humanitarian assistance, but yes, in terms of recognition, there should be a condition-based recognition. And what I also ask international community to ask Taliban to fulfill their promises, because when we were in Qatar in 2019, they were mentioning about girls' education, women can go to school, women can work everywhere, and then this is the time that international community, if they're really thinking that they're our allies and they're our strategic partners, they have to pressurize Taliban to put their words in action. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We have to now go to, yeah, thank you. You have a question? Yeah. Okay, please.
Yeah, Matthias from TV2 Norway. You've had many meetings with member states.
Which agency? Which news agency?
TV2 Norway.
Norway.
You've had many meetings with member states and UN officials over the past few days. Are you satisfied with what you've been told in those meetings and the support you've gotten so far?
I think there is a lot of geopolitics involved in the situation of Afghanistan. There are emerging powers and their interest. It has always been like that. Unfortunately, Afghanistan has always been used as a battlefield for regional powers. Our hope is that when it comes to the situation of internal politics, inclusion, women's rights, respect for minorities, these are the things that should not be a matter of compromise for the geopolitics. We are happy there are a lot of people that will listen, but it's not enough to listen. I think the member states need to have a vision, long-term vision. We are a bit short-sighted. We are a bit focused on just humanitarian assistance for now. My assessment is that if we do not continue to empower an already empowered nation in Afghanistan, the consequences will be that there will be a growth of military extremism in the region. Taliban have already inspired, and that growth could endanger your own territories. So the response is not more military action, not more fighting. The response is empowering those women and men who are putting their lives at risk, opening their chests to the bullets of Taliban in the streets of Kabul, including today. You have probably seen some of the footages that women were protesting and how challenging security, enormously challenging security situation they face. I think that is the response. You need to support. The world needs to support and listen to the people of Afghanistan and act based on what they say. Because we are talked a lot about, but we are not listened to. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.